everyone, welcome to this month's drum lesson. First of all, apologies for the lighting. We've recently got a new light in this room and my camera doesn't seem to like it. But yeah, this month I thought we'd go over Woe Betide. This time going over the bit towards the end, what I like to call the Queens of the Stone Age bit, because it kind of reminds me of some of their songs. It certainly was inspired by some of Dave Grohl's drumming in Songs for the Dead, or Songs for the Deaf. Always forget what the album's called. But yeah, so I thought I'd just go over that. I'm not going to go over the whole thing because it is in two halves, but the first half is on the hi-hat and then the second half is pretty much exactly the same but on the crash cymbal. So I'm just going to go over the first half. And there's a cool little fill, another tricky, crazy fill at the in the middle that I will break down for you. But here we go. All right, so let's just get into it. So, like 99% of all the drum beats, the grooves that most drummers play, there's a steady pulse on the hi-hat. And in this part of the song I'm playing quarter notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, quite a bit faster than that in the actual song, but obviously for demonstration purposes I'll slow everything down for you. The snare drum pattern is a little bit weird, so we've got a snare drum on 2, which is quite normal. But then the next two snare drums are on the and of 3 and the and of 4. So we end up going 1, 2, 3, and 4, and like that. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a different feel than you would normally expect. And the bass drum pattern goes like this. So we've got a bass drum on 1, the and of 1. So in between the 1 and 2 that I'm doing on the hi-hat, there's another bass drum. Then there's another bass drum on the and of 2. So straight after that. Then there is another bass drum on beat 3 as well. So I'll put it all together just so you can hear it. It's a little bit easier to understand from listening. Here we go. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so I'll do that again. I'll do it a few times so you can get used to it. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Play it up to speed. The hi-hat is normally open. I had it closed for demonstration purposes. It's just easier to hear everything that's going on. But in reality, it would be open. So this sort of sound instead of a closed sound like that. So that would sound like this at full speed. Okay, so I would normally play that 4 times. On the 4th repetition on beat 3, instead of playing the bass drum and the hi-hat, I add a little fill, and it sounds crazy, but when you break it down, it is actually quite simple. It's just because of the speed and the fact that it's split up between different drums that makes it sound a lot more chaotic than it actually is. Is just a right hand on the floor tom. Okay, so that's on 3. So I'll be playing 16th notes here. So I've got 3 E on the high tom, and then and with the bass drum. Okay, so 3 E and and then on beat 4, I would do a crash cymbal and a snare drum. Okay, so that's 3 E and 4. Okay, and in context, at speed would sound like this. played that pattern 4 times just so you get used to the way that that it sounds. But in the actual song, I only play that 4-bar phrase once. So after that that crazy fill, I go back into playing the main pattern, the main groove that I just showed you. But this time I play it 3 times instead of 4. But on the 3rd time the pattern changes slightly. So I'll show you how that goes. So to begin with, it's the same. We've still got 1 and 2 and 3 and then on beat 4, I actually play a bass drum and then another one on the and of 4, and then do a snare drum and hi-hat on beat 1 of the next bar. Okay, and that all together sounds like this. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, now the rest of that bar is just a rest. It's just like there's no sound. Okay, so it's kind of like a break in the pattern. It's just a bit of dynamics, and then when we come back in, I play the same pattern but on the crash cymbal. Okay, so the same, the main groove. So but I do it on my crash. So that, just so you hear what it sounds like, it goes like this. Okay, up to speed. Okay, just ups the intensity for that last section. But yeah, so I'll play the whole groove for you now, that whole section at slow tempo, and then I'll play it fast for you so you get to hear what it should sound like. Here we go. Okay, so up to speed, we have. All right, so that was the drum lesson for this month. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.